Hello everyone, and welcome to the Single Parent TV show brought to you by Christ Our Shepherd Ministries. My name is Jennifer Dow, and thank you for joining us. Today we have Jeff Miller joining us. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Now Jeff comes to us with a very cool background. He graduated from the Culinary Institute of America, and you've been a former executive chef for a couple different restaurants and hotels.
Hotels, yes, ma'am.
Yes, and now down here in Matthews, you have a few different roles in the dancing in the political realm and
Right.
a lot of stuff in the community. So tell us more about why you're here today. What brought you to the Single Parent TV show?
Well, I became a single parent about 14 years ago.
Okay.
I was living in Chicago, and I was an executive chef and a new father, and shortly thereafter, my child was about 4 or 5 years old, and the marriage started to turn sour, and we tried to go to Christian counseling and make amends of it. That didn't work out, unfortunately, but we made the best of it, and the biggest surprise, I think, is that after our divorce, which was in Chicago, and that would make me a Midwesterner, not a damn Yankee. Thank
You're allowed
you.
to say that on TV.
It's what they call them. It's what they call them down here. And after my divorce, she was going to move down here to be near her mother and father in the Carolinas, and I felt like if she brought my son down here, who was then 5, maybe 6 tops, that he would lose his father, and that would disrupt his world. Long story short, I decided to make the move down here, and it's for primarily 2 reasons. One, so that he would still have a father, and I would probably go crazy if I was up there without him.
Yeah.
Honestly. And the other reason was, even though he was supposed to fly home 1 weekend a month, I couldn't see a child of that age traveling alone between Charlotte Douglas Airport and Chicago O'Hare. That would be sort of rough.
Yeah.
And you touched on the fact that I was an executive chef in large hotels. If he comes back 1 weekend a month, it was usually a 3-day weekend to take advantage of the airfare. That 3-day weekend would probably be a holiday weekend. And on a holiday weekend, I'm probably cooking.
Right.
So I made the choice to move down here so that I could be a dad, and that was a good choice.
Good, I'm glad. So the topic today is divorce may seem like the end, but it's not. Now, what about your story and the divorce that you went through made it seem like it was the end? Tell us more about your story and everything that happened.
Well, when you first separate, you're going to start seeing attorneys and lawyers. It's a total disruption. A lot of times you no longer live together. And so one of you is in the house. Doesn't matter who, but the other person, in this case me, she was in the house and I was out. I lost everything. I lost seeing my son on a daily basis. I lost in my head, my possessions, my pride and joy home, the home I was proud of, having achieved a nice property and a nice home while I was still in my 30s. And, when you initially split up, I think, as I recall, I had a clock radio, a pillow, a candle, a TV, and a guitar, and some clothes. And then little by little, I got a few more things back until the divorce was finalized, when you divide up your stuff. And sometimes that takes 1 year or 2 years, and you're kind of living on a skeletal surroundings, so to speak, and so your world is shattered entirely from what you knew. You had I had good surroundings when I was with my parents. I had good surroundings when I lived alone. I had beautiful surroundings when I was married. And then immediately after the divorce, not only is it a mental trip or an emotional turmoil you're going through, but then you're sitting there with just the items that I mentioned, and it was trying, but if nothing else, I did learn that it's not the material possessions that bring happiness. Even though I was sad, I was still able to find happiness through friendship, through going to church weekly, and through some long-term friends.
Good. Now, we all have when we're kids, we have our dreams, we have our hopes, our desires about what our life is going to be like. How did you picture your life being like? I mean, I don't think anyone signs up for marriage saying, well, give it about 3 years, probably go for the planned divorce then, talk about that aspect of it.
Well, I dreamed of getting married and having a few children and living happily ever after, and I was probably, I could be accused of being very materialistic, and so I had a lot of pride in my possessions, maybe more pride then than I do today as I'm getting older. I'm downsizing at this point and giving stuff away and donating everything I can. But I married a Catholic school teacher, and I thought that, wow, this is because I had grown up in a Catholic school and in a Catholic church, and when I married a Catholic school teacher, I really felt that I could have done no better in anybody's eyes, other than marrying a nun, which I was hoping I wouldn't have to do. And she was a very beautiful girl. We were married. We decided to not have children right away. We waited 5 years to seal our marriage and to get to know each other better. And then we had a child after 5 years. We were married a total of 10, and things just started to go bad. And it's unfortunate. And those were my aspirations, and I feel I met them. But then it all started to fall apart.
Yeah, that's scary. I can't even imagine just the pain that I know you and anyone who goes through a divorce like that just has to go through. One of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about the way that it felt like the end, when you were losing everything and all you had was the candle and the guitar and a few clothes, it reminded me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how you start to feel like, or really all you're worried about is those physical needs and those the basic needs of life, and how maybe I can see the collision in somebody's mind where you feel like, hey, I'm supposed to be in this place in life where I'm becoming self-actualized and doing all these other things, but then you're back to ground zero worrying about where you're going to live.
Right. At first you feel angry, you feel hurt, you feel abandoned, you feel like you're the only one going through this. But there are many other people who have gone through it and come out of it. Back then I leaned on my friends and my spirituality, as I mentioned, but I was unable for a long time to have a girlfriend or to want to have a girlfriend, because my life was so unstable. For example, I lived in probably 4 or 5 different locations immediately on the separation. I lived at a friend's apartment, slept on the sofa for about a week. And then I rented a cottage house or a coach house a friend had in Wilmette, Illinois, for about a month. And then my brother offered me a dormer, the 3rd floor of his house, which was sort of just a 1-bedroom, had to go downstairs to the bathroom with, the ceilings that go like this.
Oh, yeah.
Bumped my head a lot, but there I had a card table and a bed and a TV and a candle. And I lived there for a year and then got an apartment. But because I was moving around and I was still seeing lawyers and going back to court and spending all my money either on child support or attorneys or the mortgage on the house that I own with my then wife, but I wasn't living there, but I was paying the mortgage. All my money was going out, and I was just unable to start a relationship with another girl for a very long time afterwards, even after the divorce was finalized, because I had no way of knowing where I would be living in a year from now.
Right.
Because that's going through the divorce, that